meditation practice train in the recognition of the natural state of the mind and the abiding mode of the mind, which can be pointed out and recognized, pointed out by an authentic qualified master and then recognized experientially by the disciple. And in other words, this is the process of, in the context of the great perfection, cutting through to primordial purity and then pursuing through that natural recognition of the natural state of the mind, cutting through to primordial purity, experiencing the unfolding of the form visions of spontaneous presence. In the Mahamudra system, it is called, this kind of practice is the liberating path of Mahamudra, which is then combined with the aspect of means and the 6 Nara yogas. So that sort of recognition of the natural state, if we can come to that, and again the way to come to that is by finding a master who has experience and realization, and then with devotion approaching that master and seeking to be brought face to face with the awakened state of the mind. When that recognition then takes place, and when one trains in the recognition, if it is possible then, having gained some affinity with the practice, to pass away within the state of recognizing the natural state, then that is what is called the Dharmakaya Phowa, or the Dharmakaya transference of consciousness.
在我们的今世呢，在修持这个禅修，修止、修观、修身体之力、圆满之力。那么在密乘里面，最顶级的、最顶级的这个修持呢，就是呢能够呢体验、体证、体认呢我们的自心本性。这个自心本性的体认呢，是要由呢一位呢有正量的上师指导带领弟子呢去体会、去体证他的自心本性。在大圆满的教法，体证这个自心本性呢是立断的修法。立断的修法呢，是使这个弟子呢能够亲证这个自心本性。然后在这个立断的基础之上呢，修这个顿超，这是大圆满的教法。在大手印的教法呢的修持呢，相对的呢就是呢修这个大手印的解脱道，加上配合纳入的六法，纳入六切法。这整个过程呢，就是呢一个有信心的弟子。遇到一位有传承正量的老师，这个老师跟弟子的交融，使这个弟子呢亲证他的本来、他自心的本来面目，然后呢体认这个自心的本来面目之后，然后呢他继续呢使他能够延长，使他能够稳固。那么如果这个修持者呢在他死去的时候，他能够体认他的自心本性而走的话呢，这就是法身婆。
Rabshuku Phowa, Jinglungu Phowa, Tatamadi Tulku Phowa Savare, Tatatan, Nadu de Sheseti, Tuku Phowa Shavia, Tuku Phowa. Jing Takat Semti Nelu Tata Chuchuam, Human Henjibi, the Washani. Tell Kondi Yabu Yabayina, Kondi God, Kondi Yabu Nanjur Baki, then Chikit Tawakata, Tishu, Arm, Numa Jibiki, Ne, Nyamlenti, Sanglamni, Inka, Ripit Neletene, then Chuchukoro, Pawayin, the Chukupota, Shabar. Tan Ding Longu Phowa Sente, a Longu, Kuchezo, the Songjuk Phowa, Ding Longu, Te, Jezo Songjuk Phowa. 대 소장 제조 인매 전만 줄라 군대 야고천 양양 제조 그냥len 제대 로소 소아리 제대 로소 그냥len 군대 야고 여바이나 얘네 대 유베티 그 가사티 되는 치갈라 다 출근 나와서 그러봐 출근 나와서 간가 되는 다발산 되는 고단 샤예 가게 나발산네 되는 롱고 파와 세트라.
So that is the best if we can transfer consciousness, so to speak, in this way, by recognizing the natural state of the mind at the moment of death. If we can recognize that cutting through to primordial purity, or this innate co-emergent wakefulness of the Mahamudra system, if we can recognize that at the moment of death, then that is the highest form of transference of consciousness. The second best is if we can transfer consciousness at the level of the Sambhogakaya, and then further option is the transfer of consciousness at the Nyima level. And that that transfer of consciousness is what the topic of tonight's talk is about, most specifically. But again, to recognize the natural state cutting through to primordial purity, to use the terminology of the great perfection, or the innate co-emergent wisdom, that allows for the Dharmakaya or transfer of consciousness. So this is something that becomes a possibility if one has been introduced to and has recognized the natural state of the mind. Not only that, it's also a requirement, of course, that one has then become familiar with the recognition so that it can occur also at the time of death. So what about this second of these three types of Phowa, or transference of consciousness? Phowa, in terms of the Sambhogakaya, is the transfer of consciousness within the experience of the unified two stages of development and completion. So if one is capable of practicing the two stages of deity yoga, development stage and completion stage, as an inseparable unity, then within this yoga of developing, recitation and completion, one experiences purity and pure appearances. And if one has again become accustomed to the practice and has developed affinity with the practice, so that one can also, when the death experience begins to set in, go through that within the yoga of development and completion, then one will pass away within an experience of all-pervasive purity and perfection, which then brings about the Phowa and the level of the Sambhogakaya.
那么一个大圆满修持者呢，在这个历段的修持当中呢，他能够体认他的自性本性，在正量的上师的教导之下呢，他能够体认他的自性本性，并且呢，不只是体认，他能够稳固这个自性本性，他能够稳固它，那么使他呢在死亡的时候呢，能够平稳的呈现出来。这个方法呢，就是法身佛，法身的劝示。那么在大手论的修持里面，这个名词呢，同样的修持呢，就是修持呢能够呢稳固的升起这个具身光明的本有的是具身光明，它们是同样的，这是法身佛。那么报身这是最好的第一等的切实法。那么第二等的切实法是什么呢？是一个密乘的修持者，西方是密乘的修持者，他已经成熟了，已经很成熟了，很熟练的修持，升起自己跟圆满之力的融合，就升起跟圆满不二的这个理解呢，已经成就，已经成功了。他升起了这个 精进的光，密册里面的精进的光，已经熟悉了。那么在死亡的时候呢，这个升起一个圆满不二的一个一切呢产生，能够产生这个正能量，造成了这个佛性的显现。这是第二等的天使法报身天使法。
To make it very simple way to explain, whatever we want, name, fame, power, position, whatever we want is for temporary. It's temporary helping. When we're healthy, if we seek sort of curable disease time, those will help. When uncurable disease time, none of this can help. None of this can help. And the moment of dying time, none of this help. Not only help, it makes suffering. Why? You don't want to leave behind you. Whole life you put so much effort. Now you have whatever you created, even 1, 2 things broke or lost, how much we have worry and pain. Now everything is dropping behind. It's very, painful and very attached and very confused, very angry, very disappointed. At that moment, what to do now? What is the point? How to? You cannot take it with you. What you own make you more suffer. None of this can heal you. None of this can make you healthy or long life. So, now how to handle? One, whatever you own, whatever you have, put for good purpose. Don't put for bad purpose. And same time, detach. Detachment is very important. Attachment creates so much suffering. Detach. Now what left? Only consciousness. Consciousness. So, in Buddhist teaching, what emphasizes is consciousness. How to handle this consciousness. Consciousness itself is confused. Mind is a lot of polluted, full of negative emotion. The positive is hidden like sesame seed. The husk inside the oil. The husk is like negative emotions. It's like husk. All the good quality is sort of covered. So now, depends who we are. If we are the number 1 type of practitioner, then Dharmakaya Phowa is the best. Number 2, intentric, we call it like Jiazo Songju.
Unity of development stage and completion stage.
This is very important. Then, Nirvana Kaya Phowa has two ways, Mahayana way or Tantri way. A Mahayana way of Lungu Phowa in China, Korea, Japan, also in Tibet. Tibet, we practice very similar generally. Amitabha Pyoram. So now, how to Devajanji Shingla the Rab Chukyi Phowa Tedar Machuna Lungu Phowa Tedar Machuna ta Samuch Tangre the Turku Phowa Tila Teaching to look at Turku Phowa Mark look at Turku Phowa Teaching to look at Turku Phowa Tila Devajanji Shingla Jela Jagore.
So again, the best transfer of consciousness at the time of death is the transfer at the Dharmakaya level of realization, which is through the recognition of the natural state of the mind. Second best is the Sambhogakaya level of transfer, which is in terms of the unity of the two stages. And then, if one is not able to do the Dhammakaya Phowa, nor able to perform the Sambhogakaya Phowa, then what remains is the Nirmanakaya Phowa. And what we were saying is that Nirmanakaya Phowa has two aspects. There is the general Mahayana way of the transference of consciousness at the Nirmanakaya level, and then there's the way of secret mantra. So if we fail at the other stages of transfer of consciousness, then we need to think of something else. And that's then when we get to the Nirmanakaya Phowa. And in terms of the general Mahayana approach, then one must recollect the features of the Buddha Amitabha, and the pure realm, the various features of the pure realm. Four causes for rebirth in the land of bliss. The pure field of Amitabha must be fulfilled. One must supplicate as the support the field of accumulation. So I'm sorry, one must recollect the support, the field of accumulation. And then provide the course in terms of purification of obscurations and gathering of accumulations.
That is number 2. Number 3,
This must be assisted by the practice of developing bodhicitta and the condition in the form of pure aspirations. So those are the 4 factors. That's very important to know.
Otherwise cannot burn. Cannot, I want to burn and Amitabha. How? Impossible. First you don't know where you're going.
Which is why we need to recollect the features of Sukhavati, the land of bliss. Very clearly, bringing it to mind. So the ways of remembering the features of Sukhavati according to Tibetan approaches, just as there are very wonderful descriptions in the Chinese tradition. So we can use any one of those as support for our recollection.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
总的来讲呢，第一呢，我们要深深的体会到，今世所追求的名利权都是短暂的。当我们失去健康的时候，得到这个绝症的时候，所有的一切呢都没有办法帮助我们。当我们死亡的时候，这些呢外在的呢名利权呢根本就帮不到我们，而且呢使我们更加的痛苦。我们在今世呢失去一点点就非常痛苦，何况呢在死亡的时候，通通呢都要放弃。所以呢，到底呢我们在这一世呢这么努力的追求这些东西有什么意义呢？所以第一点，第二点，所以因此呢，我们应该呢，修持者呢，应该有怎样的结论？我们所现在呢用的一切，把它用在好的地方，然后呢，而且呢，要减少、断除这个贪着的心、占有的心。第二，专注在什么？专注在修我们自心。把这个烦恼心，把这个无明呢，在外呢消除，就好像这个芝麻一样， 外在的壳呢，就象征我们的烦恼的无明；内在的有呢，就象征我们的本有的佛性。所以呢，讲到千世法，呢，最上等的、最好呢是法身千世，这是最好的。第二等呢是升起跟圆满之力成就，
就是搞这个场，
用这个升起跟圆满的一切呢来做这个报身千世。那么如果呢没有办法做第一等跟第二等的千世呢，我们就要做第三种千世，就是化身婆瓦。这个化身婆瓦呢有经教跟密乘两种方法。在显称的方法呢，就是呢净土修持这个净土的方法呢，来做这个千世法。这个修持千世法呢，这个化身婆法呢有4个重点。第一，我们要观想，我们要意念这个西方极乐净土的种种的这个观，它的相是怎么样的，用经称的、用密称的都可以用，这是第一。第二呢，这个修持者呢必须呢消除他的业障，跟做这个培养他的福德。第三呢，要有菩提心。第四呢，要发愿往生西方极乐净土。这4点呢都非常重要，如果没有的话呢，这不可能的。
得先다 대화전에 제발 제발라 다 담보 말아서 대화전에 전도유가 강사 티 접수 좀 개념 좀 받지네 티 돈받을 송 셴의 빵 셴의 시대 제발 빵 대가나 태과치 그렇게 장주 sem등 슈 셴배 시대 제발 름들 그 로당 마차베 터네 되네 야고 졸라 쳐봐 kunchochi ten chebarjan sola chebapyata ma ngenon la jimbatayata rani sutum soyata teshin tu sobagoyata tene rabna something the thing is nyamlen cheya teta gi nyamlen chigi te sosa dibjan sare ta tepo chimbe logo sosa dibjan chala la chewate tene ngaran so yela dumba ngoso ten 양은 맥빈들라 배나바 맥이 신고라고 티스트바 룩스로발라서 여가다 해나야 양은 이지 맥데 산주바 맥이 신감 거봐 이지 맥데 텐트 공데 티들라 텐트 소소 디장 차술게 해라든가 르지권에 차자 나지 잠들다甚至我把你切几千心痛了啊！这个是让俺也送走，天天得行了个别的多了说话点嘛，台上人都找强就去什么样接吧，什么他们电话的单位就得点不少，东儿就得差不少，这点不进你钱通了接场。또 동아리就对你查了头发切头接查上面인공 로베 때문에 아랍나 르니 바쁘요 내가 치마 쪽과 되게 되는 전에 조창주 셈세 대 양양 제토 대제라 몰람 넘버 타고 잠다 다상도로 심천 탐 진짜 영화 예술지 대답 탐지 당에 상주여바 내게 신감 신강贵各的这个广巴党电动人说啥这样些吧的朝强就去审结吧得到了出了点人没那么大个没那么的上街的强就审吧上街吧没人没那么的做不了亲戚老多说那我没那么的开车判断都审结他就是他们这你讲听说个人家他们就按了你给说啥做啥吧他们他那个就是这现在他就上去吧没被新开的接我说上这个没那么的样看上实在嘛把人工这边的样样吃吧人呢 대답을겠다 주시트 상황이나 다 주시 차라도 제가 상황이나 아니 대화장 것이나 메시바 에바당 두지외게 주 차라도 제가 마사나 아니 대화장이 라제야나 갈까봐 이마다 This is better. It's better.
So in order to achieve...
Please listen well. Say, listen well. Listen well.
In order to achieve
right, note. You should.
These four factors that ensure rebirth in Sukhavati, the realm of bliss, they are as follows. One must, as a support for this process, one must recollect the features, first of all, of the pure field, bring those to mind very clearly, training the perception, the mental perception of the realm of bliss. But as a practitioner who wishes to achieve rebirth in Amitabha's pure field, one must receive vows, commitment for the Buddhist lay practitioners, and on the basis of having received those commitments, then engage in virtuous practices and purify obscurations to the best of one's capacity. That means that one must be trained in being generous, in being disciplined, in being patient, and so forth. And one must gather accumulations, and the most concise and effective way that one can do so, according to the general Mahayana, is by way of the 7 branches of worship. So one must train in paying homage to the Triple Gem and going for refuge. One must, with an awareness of the qualities of the objects of refuge, take wholehearted refuge and commit oneself to the practice of the path, continuing through with making offerings, confessions, and so forth. In this way, one will succeed in gathering vast accumulations and purifying tremendous amounts of negative factors simply through these skillful 7 aspects of worship. So that is the causal factor that needs to be present in order for the practice of achieving rebirth in Buddha Amitabha's realm, for that to be effective. We need those causal factors of gathering accumulations and purifying obscurations. And this process should be assisted then by the bodhicitta resolve, by the wish to achieve rebirth in the realm of Amitabha, not just for one's own benefit, but for the benefit of all beings, for their temporary happiness and ultimate liberation and awakening. One wishes and prays to the objects of refuge, and one commits oneself to that objective, as making the promise that all what I do shall be for the benefit of and awakening of everyone. In that way, embracing the whole process with the enlightened outlook of bodhicitta. And then finally, the aspect of aspirations, pure aspirations, where one prays that in doing this practice, in abiding by one's commitments, one's vows, one's virtuous vows as a Buddhist lay practitioner, in one's practice of being generous, of being disciplined, of being patient, diligent, preferably also training in meditation practice and developing insight, but in short, in training along the lines of the 7 aspects of worship, and visualizing the perfect field of Buddha Amitabha. One prays that one thereby may indeed be able to achieve such rebirth, and through that circumstance awakening to complete enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. In other words, making one's own spiritual success the circumstance for the awakening of everyone. That sort of aspiration, and thinking that this is my sole objective, this universal awakening of everyone, and I'm happy to take upon myself any amount of failure and suffering that is otherwise to be experienced by others, by other sentient beings. Their ripening of negative karma, I wish to take that upon myself. And anything that I do which is wholesome and virtuous, my own temporary and ultimate success and accomplishment, I donate to all sentient beings. Making that sort of pure aspiration is the final factor that needs to be present. If all those 4 factors are indeed present, then there's no way that one will not achieve rebirth in Buddha Amitabha's realm. It follows as a natural consequence of the presence of these 4 pure factors. And on the other hand, if there's any incompletion of these 4, and if some of these factors are not as pure as they ought to be, then it's very difficult to achieve such rebirth.
这4个重点呢，要往生西方极乐往生极乐释迦阿弥陀佛的极乐净土的一个4个重点呢非常重要。那么第一呢我们要观想，能够观想呢，能够意念西方净土的种种的美好的相，要很清楚的能够观想。那么第2呢，我们要消障累积福德。这个消障累积福德的很好的办法呢，就是呢第一呢，我们要在一个接受这个在家5戒的基础上呢，修这个7支愿也就是要布施忍辱精进，那么最好呢也能够修禅定跟智慧。那么以这个7支愿望的方法呢，礼敬诸佛观想呢三宝的功德。那么呢，我们的发愿呢，要修持这个道这个法，做种种的布施忏悔等等，来累积福德，消除这个业障。像是这一个这第2就是修福消障。那么这个修福消障呢，一定呢要配合这个菩提心。这个菩提心呢，一定要在包括在里面一起修持。第3点，就是我们修持呢，不是为了自己本身，而是为了呢彻底的解除所有的众生自他所有的众生的苦。那么愿呢消一切众生的苦，以这个愿呢来修持呢发愿往生西方。这是第3点呢，就是要配合菩提心。我们的发愿要以这个菩提愿呢来做种种的修持呢那么第4呢，就是要发愿要往生净土。这4个呢要配合一起呢不可缺少。以这个清净的戒律修持这个福德，消除这个业障，以这个七支愿望的这个方法配合这个菩提心观想西方净土，然后发愿呢要往生西方净土呢，纯粹呢是为了圆满这个菩提愿。我的唯一的目的，唯一的心愿，就是能够呢接受消除众生的苦， 把所有的福德都回向给所有的众生，这是最重要也是最终的这个决定往生不往生的重点。因此，如果我们能够圆满的四个要点，那一定能够往生西方极乐。可是如果呢缺了其中一项，那就很难说了。
Don't know anjo dewajala singkil chia chevala ngaran kisemtela yaya de dewajan ji singkam ko ba di le ten ko yang shogi ni sama ta to ramna nam to shen ke parma chu ba chele de chen ji singko de yaya ye le ten kom ne tene te den ji chung la tambo chu da zang da che shen le machi be kong la dewa ji singkam ko ba ten zo sa yang wo ta ti den la cha cha ba chue ba ya de ba sha ba sa ba je da kan chu ma ya che da to to me ni da da ta ye be sin jian ke tam ji ji long a ye sum ji ge ne ne che de ma bo che yo re ting ye de ro ru sin jian tam ji ke cha che de and because the share to the bacha da ma she ni de bacha da de che ba so mong bu yo ting ye de kon zo chap ting ye che ne de de sa jue ba me ge de na da ma zo de ne cha cha chue ba da sha li sha ba che de kan chi mo sha ba che san je de shan chu sen de ge sim jian la wo shu jun som ne pen be ke je ba sam ji me je ba na mo yo de la ma je se ye ra wa yin san je de shan chu sa ba ma se de su su jiu ke jang le sang ba che ba de nge je se ye ra je se ye ra so ya ya gong te chen du ka re se na ya se sa wa ta tu ga so la ya ho ba me ke shen ga me ye le ten san je ba me le nge de se ke de ne pu ge so to ke pu ge so ke sa ba che da jen sa sa ba che chong ya de ta mo pu de nga ya o san je ba me le pu ge de wa ba me ge xian de 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 da chen la de ma na so sam ya sam ta tu lo ne ba che be yo re.
So it's important that we have a clear perception of what the realm of Amitabha looks like, that we bring to mind features of the Buddha field in a steady way. So that means, for example, as soon as we wake up, meaning the moment we wake up in the morning, if at that time our first thought, so to speak, can be the realm of Amitabha, the realm of great bliss, and if at that time we can bring the features of the pure Buddha field very clearly to the mind, then that creates a very effective imprint in the mind that will assist us in the practice of achieving rebirth there. Otherwise, once we've gotten up and washed our face and so on, but before we have begun any of our ordinary daily activities, if at that time we can prostrate and go for refuge and worship Amitabha in the pure Buddha field, then that too is an excellent way of creating this link with the pure Buddha field that we establish through continuous recollection. And so at that time we pay homage in body, speech and mind to the Buddha Amitabha and the features of the pure field. And we confess whatever misdeeds we have done, whatever misdeeds we have caused others to engage in, whatever misdeeds and wrongs we have rejoiced in, and so on. And this practice of confession is extremely important and effective in purifying negativity. And when we train in this way in confession, then it is important also that we approach it through the bodhicitta outlook, so that we say, I do this now as a representative of all sentient beings. On behalf of them, I confess all their misdeeds, whatever they have engaged in directly, indirectly, and so on. I, as their representative, make the confession. And we rejoice, as the third of the 7 branches of worship, we rejoice in the activity of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas throughout the times and directions. Whatever perfect activities that the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas master for the benefit of sentient beings, we rejoice wholeheartedly from the bottom of our heart in this perfect activity. And also any virtuous action that sentient beings, ordinary beings engage in, we rejoice in that too. That as well is an extremely effective way of gathering virtuous factors. So this is how we should begin the day, by worshipping the Buddha Amitabha and bringing to mind the pure field. And we should maintain that link with the realm of perfection, the land of bliss, during the day as well. For example, when we have a meal, then taking that as an opportunity for making offerings to the Buddha Amitabha. Or if we put on, when we put on our clothes, or if we put on jewelry, or things of that sort, then we make our clothing and our adornments, our jewelry and so on, we make that mentally offerings to Buddha Amitabha, and then imagine that we receive these things that we dress ourselves in, and with that we receive them as blessings from Buddha Amitabha. So in this way we keep the connection alive during our daily activities.
那么在一个净土的往生净土的修持者呢，应当呢说怎么样的开始他的一天。早上一醒来呢，我们就要做这个修持这个法门的人，早上一醒来呢，就要做这个净土的观极乐世界的种种的相啊，非常稳定，一个很稳定的观。那么早上一醒来，第一点呢，就是做这个观想，极乐世界的观想。那么在最好呢，在还没有去工作以前呢，可以做这个七支愿王的修持来消除业障跟累积功德。首先呢，比如说我们呢，向这个西方世界阿弥陀佛呢做这个顶礼，然后呢，念诵皈依，并且呢，接下来呢就去做这个忏悔这个业障，这是非常重要的。忏悔业障呢，能够是一个很重要的消除业障的方法。在修持这个忏悔的时候呢，我们应当呢，一定呢要把菩提心的包容在这里面，就是我们以我们做代表，为所有的众生呢做忏悔。同样的，第三呢，这是忏悔业障消除业障。然后我们做随喜，从有史以来一切诸佛菩萨以及众生所做的种种的善呢，我们全心全意的呢随喜，这样子呢可以帮助到我们累积这个福德。从开始呢，一早上开始呢，就做这样子的观想，这样子的修持。在我们日常生活里面，比如说呢，在吃饭的时候，我们观想呢，向阿弥陀佛来做供养。我们的穿衣服，在戴上这个珠宝的时候呢，观想呢是阿弥陀佛的加持等等，就是说尽量的